Good afternoon, my lovely subscribians. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, or good night, wherever you are in this world. Shout out to all of you. I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday, wherever you all are. Now, I want to have a serious talk with you guys before I get into the story that I'm about to share with you. Now, if you've been watching me for a while, I've been covering the Usain Bolt saga. It's a story that happened in my home, Jamaica, where I was born. And I don't want you guys to think that I'm just on Jamaica, and I don't want to paint a negative view of Jamaica because I love my little island. I love all my pasa, and I love my country just the same. But I thought because I am a money channel, I have to highlight what was happening. However, while I was doing that, something grotesque is happening here where I live in Canada, and I don't want to show any bias, so I am bringing this story to you guys. Maybe you haven't heard about it. Maybe it's your first time. But if it is your first time and you're hearing about it on my channel, then you know what to do. In the comment section, I want you to 2 thumbs up if you're hearing it for the first time. I'm bringing it to you guys. So if you like what you hear, if you want to hear more stories like this, all I'm asking is that you subscribe to the channel, like up the channel, and share it out to family and friends because they need to be made aware things like this is going on right here. So, all right. So before I get into the story, I'm going to paint you guys a short little snippet of what this story is about, okay? I'll paint your scenario here because this is scary. When you actually think about it, it really, really is scary. So here it is. Imagine you and hubby or wifey decide to take off on a vacation somewhere, but instead of vacating, you end up staying wherever you are, and you decide that you're going to rent out your home and earn some money while you guys are away, right? No harm, no foul. Okay. Only that you come back home and just imagine, you come back home, turn the key in your lock and rotted. The key not work. The key not turn, and you're wondering, oh, what am I doing? You try again, and the key not work. Anyways, by you doing that all the time, all you hear is a click, and your door opens. To your surprise, you're looking at someone staring at you. You looking at them, them looking at you, going, who are you? That's where we are. Here's a story I want to share with you guys. So you know where I'm getting my source from? BBC News. Right here, sir, in my own backyard. Toronto. Anyways, couple whose Toronto home sold without their knowledge says systems failed to protect them. Stakeholders call for multi-factor ID verification to protect against real estate fraud. When Stephanie logged online to pay her monthly bills last year, she noticed something strange. The mortgage she shared with her husband, Derek, had disappeared from home screen of her Canadian bank account. After making some calls, she found out her mortgage was closed. We knew something was wrong. We weren't the ones to close our mortgage, said Stephanie. But we didn't know the extent of it. Stephanie and Derek moved overseas for work about 4 years ago and had been renting out their fully furnished Etobicoke home as an income property while abroad. They told CBC Toronto the couple intended to move back in when they eventually returned home to Toronto. After finding out about the mortgage, things went from bad to worse. The couple's property management company swung by their house only to have a stranger answer the door claiming to own the home. And it turns out, when Stephanie and Derek checked the title, the stranger did. That was probably when it really hit home that this wasn't just some mistake, said Derek. But legally, the system believes you actually no longer own your home. Stephanie and Derek's predicament made headlines earlier this month when Toronto police issued a press for help identifying suspects involved in the fraudulent sale of the couple's home without their knowledge. CBC Toronto is not using Stephanie and Derek's real names because they are victims of identity theft. Now, the couple's case is one of at least 4 in the Greater Toronto area where homeowners had their houses sold out from under them by organized crime groups, according to CBC Toronto investigation. Nearly a year after discovering something was wrong, Stephanie and Derek are sharing their story to sound the alarm and how they say current identification requirements in real estate transactions are failing to protect homeowners from fraud. All the things you need to provide to buy a house, no one ever checks if those match up when you sell the house, alleges Derek. You trust these institutions to protect you, and it feels like they're doing whatever they can to do things as fast and as cheap as possible. The couple says the fraudsters who impersonated them to sell their house consistently spelled one of their last names wrong through the transaction, which was inconsistent with the fake ID they were using. I think that's what scares you the most, said Derek. You think, well, if the bank fails, the real estate board will catch it. And so many people, so many educated people, it just passed by. Some real estate industry stakeholders are also calling on the province and professional oversight bodies to strengthen identification requirements to try and stop these transfer and mortgage frauds in their tracks. But as it stands, real estate agent brokers and lawyers are only required to collect one piece of government-issued photo identification to verify clients are who they say they are, or review an approved alternative method of identification like a Canadian credit file. The problem we have in Canada right now is that there's no such thing as a valid ID anymore, said John Ryder, Senior Vice President of Chicago Title Insurance Company in Canada. How can someone borrow $2 million to buy a house with a simple piece of plastic that can be easily forged? It just shouldn't be happening. Ryder works for one of the 4 title insurers operating across the country and says claims like Stephanie and Derek's, along with mortgage frauds, have cost the industry at least $200 million in the last 2.5 years. Wow. Title insurance also covers unwitting buyers in title transfer frauds who can recover the funds they put towards purchasing a house through a fraud claim. Instead of relying on 1 or 2 pieces of ID, Ryder argues a multi-factor identification process should be adopted for all real estate transactions. The process would require a combination of photo ID identification, a credit report search, and checks on the cell phone number provided to make sure it isn't a burner phone. This multi-factor catches most of the fraudsters, he said. We're finding most of the time that fraudsters get caught, it's on the cell phone number. Morris Cooper, a civil litigation lawyer in Toronto, who successfully argued a landmark case of mortgage fraud in 2006, also says more strict forms of identification would address the root of these problems. There's nobody compelling the lawyers, for example, who are clearly a gatekeeper, to require that higher level of identification for these clients, said Cooper. Last year, the Law Society of Ontario, LSO, added 2 additional options for ID verification to its bylaws in an effort to fight money laundering and terrorist financing, but does not require lawyers to check combination of the verification methods. CBC Toronto asked LSO whether it's considering modifying the ID requirements for lawyers in the province so they involve multiple factors. In an email, spokesperson Wayna Brown said, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, said Ontario's verification requirements are consistent with the rest of Canada. Along with our colleagues across the country, CBC Toronto asked the LSO whether it's considering modifying the ID verification requirements for lawyers in the province so they involve multiple factors. In an email, spokesperson Wayna Brown said Ontario's verification requirements are consistent with the rest of Canada. Along with our colleagues across the country, we continue to follow and monitor this matter closely, said Brown. Real estate agent and broker client verification requirements stem from provincial legislation and federal and provincial guidelines. CBC Toronto asks the Ministry of Public and Business Service Delivery whether it's considered bolstering ID requirements in legislation to fight real estate fraud. In a statement, a ministry spokesman said an updated code of ethics for realtors under the Real Estate and Business Brokers Act will come into force on April 1st. The ministry says the code will include a specific provision related to fraud, But the statement didn't mention any changes to enhance ID verification requirements beyond requiring agents to make best efforts to ensure representation made during a sale are accurate. A spokesperson for the Real Estate Council of Ontario, the RECO, also said it will be reminding agents to be vigilant in confirming IDs in light of recent events. We need tougher laws, and we need the government to protect its citizens more from this type of crime that is increasing in prevalence in Ontario, said Stephanie. The couple said they are thankful they had title insurance on their house to cover the costs related to getting the house back or receiving the sale price of the property. But they say even that protection doesn't insulate you from everything. It also doesn't account for the house being sold under market value. If fraudsters are looking to make a quick buck, said Derek, you get what it's sold for, not what it's worth. The couple are close to resolving the situation with their house, but say the trauma from the experience won't go away anytime soon. It feels like it'll never be done, said Derek. Wow. Just wow. What a great pitch for title insurance. No, seriously. On a serious note, this story is scary for many homeowners out there. If you have a home and you go away, you don't actually think that your home is going to get sold onto you and you're not going to have any protection. And when I think about how this was done and how the system failed these two guys, I'm appalled. And I don't even own anything. But I'm still appalled because the idea of that you can go away and come back and lose your house and no one's accountable, everybody's blaming somebody. Well, it's the real estate agent fault and it's the lawyer's fault. They should have checked. And it's the real estate board's fault and it's the government's fault. And it's the provincial government. It's the federal government. It's everybody's fault. And nobody thinks of a solution other than title insurance, which should be good. It's the reason why you need insurance. You need insurance for everything and everything. But I can only imagine the trauma and the experience that this couple went through. Because now you put the burden on them to prove that they actually owned the home to begin with and had the home and the title and everything. And it just makes me ask so much question like, how did these people forge the title? And how did the real estate agent miss it? And okay, fine, easy mistakes are done. But then the real estate lawyer missed it and everybody else missed it. Everybody. And I know we're in bad times, and I think that actually added to it because we keep hearing on the news that home prices are falling, people aren't selling because, that wave is gone now, the demand is down. So anybody who's selling is trying to really just get whatever they can get. So maybe this agent thought, hey, I'm here to make a quick buck. They want to sell? Let's go. And they just skipped over everything. Negligence was done here on great proportion, and it's definitely a failure by the system. I don't think anyone should have to go through this. You go away, you come back, your house should still be your house. Your home should still be your home. You shouldn't have to now go and talk to lawyers, police people, policemen, report theft. You shouldn't have to do any of that. And the fact that this crime is just increasing, that should say something. We need better legislation to protect us, or protect homeowners, I should say. We absolutely need better protection because 200 million, that's too much. And when I think about how this all occurred, I feel so bad for the people who bought the home. Can you only imagine when you open your door only to find out you purchased a home under false leading purposes? Not of your own doing, of course. You went through the right way. You got a mortgage. You got a proof. You saw the house put up for sale. You bought the house. Now you're paying the mortgage. And now you're telling me I don't own the house? I can only imagine what's going to happen to them. And I feel bad for their family too, because where are they going to go? Do they have title insurance? Get yourself some title insurance. Make sure this doesn't happen to you. And be careful out there. Institutions are great when they're great, but when they don't work and when they fail, this is why you always just be careful. And yes, get insurance. No matter how stupid and simple you think it may be, get that insurance. get that title insurance, because if this couple didn't have title insurance, I can only imagine the headache that they would have to go through. Most likely they would have to sue. And that's another worth of money. Whether they have or don't have, I don't know. The story didn't specify, but I'm thankful that they had the title insurance. I'm thankful that they're gonna get through this, and I really hope the best of them. And for anybody who's going through this, I really hope you pull through. I hope you get your home back. If not your home, the money that you purchased it with. This is Jay, and I'm just a girl who loves crypto and stocks. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Comment below and tell me what you think about this story. I'm out.